Hey,
Welcome,
everybody.
welcome, welcome.
Hey, Nancy. Woo. Hey,
Hey,
Julia.
Julia, Nancy, hi.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, I have a problem with my camera. I can't seem to resolve, so.
Judy, is that you? That's your voice. I recognize it. Hey, Sarah.
Sorry, Judy. Hi, Sarah.
No worries, Judy. Sorry about the camera.
Hey.
Judy, where are you?
I'm in the dark. I'm in a dark closet somewhere.
Uh-oh.
No, I just can't. It's just been my thing the past couple of days. Haven't been able to resolve it. And I haven't been spending a lot of time on trying to resolve it. But
Okay.
anyway, a little bit, but not much. I'm fearful that I have to take it in. Anyway, enough said.
Okay. All right. Let's see who else.
Now, Martha, welcome, Martha and Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Martha. How were
Hi.
the Olympic trials?
I'm still there. I'm on the coast.
So
for a
you're
few days.
you're still there.
Yeah. Then there's
Wow.
2 days of rest, and so I went to the coast, and so I'm just connecting back in.
So just so you all know, Martha and I connected because I was leaving Eugene when she was coming in, and we were both all excited because we intersected with the Olympic trials. All the athletes were in town, and it was really exciting, and they were staying at my hotel. And oh my gosh, I was just like such a fangirl. You know, my husband's going like, "You're staring." I'm like, "Oh my God, do you know who that is?" It was pretty exciting.
Rachel?
Well, that's why Martha went. Is that why you
Yeah.
went, Bert?
No, it was our last stop on our drive back from California. And I just picked it, and we're checking in, and all these super elite athletes are checking in at the same time. And I'm just like, what is going on? And then the staff associate said, "Oh yeah, don't you know? It's the," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm just gonna sit in the lobby and watch everybody." It was really great. And all the moms and dads were there. And that was the best part. Like, you got to see the family so excited for the athletes.
Was pretty exciting. I mean, the last few days, and we have a few days of rest, and then the last couple of days. So I don't want to take up people's time with this. So I'll.
No worries, Martha. No worries at all. That's what it's about, community, right? I'm so glad that we have a nice, intimate group here for this first. We're hoping that this will be a series of Democracy Amplifier workshops. So thank you so much for joining. I'll give it a few more minutes for folks to keep filtering in. If people want to put their name and pronouns and where they're calling in from in the chat, totally feel free to. But I think I know most of everyone on this call, which is so great. And thank you, Deborah, for joining, and Carolyn. Yeah, we'll get started in just a minute here. Hi.
Now I got to take myself off view because I've got some stuff to do while I listen.
No worries.
I'm going to be buzzing around my kitchen, but I'm going to be listening.
Totally.
Hi, you guys.
Hi, Carolyn.
Yeah, we're all excellent multitaskers now. Cool. Okay.
Nancy, what are you keeping busy with now that you're not helping to lead Team Texas?
Well, my husband's extended family from Bend, Oregon, and from Winthrop came into town, and we hosted everybody at our house since everybody's fully vaccinated for a little mini family reunion. And they all left on Sunday. And so, yeah, it's been sort of cleaning and then I call it deferred maintenance, both personal and house. Getting the appointments done, getting the stuff all of the stuff that was supposed to be done in the spring that I blew off until later. So yeah, good stuff. I'm curious. Martha's saying she's taking a couple days rest. I kind of get the feeling like she also is trying out for the Olympics, and I just want to clarify what's going on.
No, not at this age, darling. That ain't in the car. That ain't in the cards. But
You're-
I've always loved it, and they were close enough, and they're very strict. They've got vaccinated entry and vaccinated seating, and an incredibly strict health screening. I mean, it's like all digitally done. You have to show all kinds of proof 50 times. And then there's no cash at all. Everything is tickets, card, merch, food, everything is just, so.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, Martha, I just wanted to say hi because I just got a phone call from Rachel. So I told her you were at the coast. I don't know if you did. I don't know.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
She-
Okay, thanks, Julia.
Hey, Nancy, how was the response rate? Because I think you've stayed busy trying to remind us.
I have to check in with Maggie and Anita because I don't know. People are, responding to them. I don't know how many people have responded, but for any Team Texas folks, there's still, if you haven't filled out your volunteer survey, there's still time. So don't be shy. Don't forget to send it in. Maggie and Anita would love to hear from you.
I will do that. I'm a delinquent.
That's okay. You and Jane Doggett are both out of town, so you have a hall pass. Not to worry. But
Well,
thank you.
I did mine.
Thank
but
you.
It was
Thank
only
you.
because I had some time the second I saw it. Otherwise, I would have been one of those.
No
Yeah,
worries.
and
Thank you.
I would say if Deborah did hers, she had to carve out time in between the hours that she's spending sending text messages for Common Cause. Oh my gosh, hours and hours and hours. Thank you, Deborah. That's amazing. Amazing.
Well, it's been fun. Today was really rewarding. I think people got frustrated yesterday.
Mhm.
And so, in fact, for the whole team of people that was sent out the 85,000 texts, the number was higher, I think, than they ever had before. Yes, yes, connect me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a great segue, Kylie and Betty, into what we're doing today with digital platforms, right? I mean, that's what we're doing. And that's why we're here, because we know that it's the battlefield that this is going to play out on. And so every one of you being here today is so important. It really is. So thank you on a beautiful day like this, where you could be out having a picnic or sitting on the coast, or in Nancy's case, having a nap. You're with us, right? You're with us. So
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And we'll obviously want to be mindful of folks' time, because it is beautiful here in the Seattle area. So let me get started and pull up the slide deck. Actually, maybe first, let me start. I want to make sure I'm really, really excited and happy that I get to do this workshop with Betty and Blert. And so I think we should probably do maybe some introductions. My name is Kylie. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm the partnerships coordinator at CP. And then I'll hand it over to my colleagues so they can introduce themselves.
Hi, Bert, did you want me to go, or did you?
yeah, go, Betty.
Okay. My name is Betty, and I use she, her pronouns, and I am the marketing coordinator at CP. I'm going to pass it off to Bert now.
And I'm Bert, and I just changed my name because I don't know why the Zoom always changes me to Roberta, which makes me feel like I'm in trouble. But I'm Bert, and I'm a consultant with Common Power, and I use she, her, and I'm just really happy to be here to support Betty and Kylie.
Thanks, Bert. Awesome. Okay, well, let us get the slide deck up now. 1 second. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, well, welcome to our Democracy Amplifiers workshop today. We're doing this in coordination with our federal coalition, the Declaration for American Democracy, or DFAD coalition. They held a series of workshops on democracy storytelling. So we were really excited and energized to bring that to our community, but also adding in an important part of like how to share and using digital media, as Bert said, to amplify those voices. So instead of just democracy stories and amplification, we're doing democracy amplifiers. So welcome. This is our agenda for today's workshop. We're going to start with a land acknowledgement and then why we're doing this workshop. We'll go into a little bit about the For the People Act, and then the two portions that I was talking about earlier, democracy stories. We'll do a little bit on like how to tell a democracy story. We'll do breakout rooms. And then we're going to talk about how to get involved, specifically using this tool, Demcast, and Betty is going to lead us through that. But first, before we get into things, I wanted to make a land acknowledgement. Although most, or not all of us may be in the Seattle area, such as Martha, most CP and staff and volunteers occupy the Seattle area. And so we want to recognize and honor the coastal Salish peoples. And this includes, but is not limited to, the Duwamish, Muckleshoot, Tulalip, and Suquamish nations. So thank you so much. And I'm really glad to be here with all of you. This will be very familiar to a lot of the CP veterans on this call. So we won't spend too much time here, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about why we're doing this workshop, because I think it really hits all three of these values in the common power way. Because we're going to be thinking a lot about why democracy matters to us. And then, of course, we'll be doing that in community. And lastly, we're going to have some calls to action. And so it really fits well with the CP way. So I'm really excited. All right, so the For the People Act, I'm sure folks on the call are familiar, but just in case you are not, I picked out a few highlights of the bill. So this is the really big, comprehensive democracy, election, and campaign finance bill that is moving through our Congress right now. A few highlights of the bill: election access, automatic voter registration is part of that. One of the cool facts that I found out while doing research on the bill is that 50 million new eligible voters if we implement automatic voter registration nationwide, which will be awesome, and makes it more accurate, cuts down confusion, and it's cost effective. There are parts of the bill that have to do with campaign finance, as I mentioned, so empowering small donors. I was really excited to see this because folks who are familiar with like local Seattle politics, in 2017, we voted for our city elections to have democracy vouchers. And there's city elections going on right now. And so that's really exciting. And then lastly, congressional ethics reform. I picked this one out because one of the parts is preventing members of Congress from advancing legislation that will enhance their personal wealth. So there are a lot of different parts of this bill, and you can find there's a really great annotated guide that the Brennan Center put out, and I can share the link to that in the follow-up. But I think it's really helpful just because the bill is so large to pick out a few highlights, but also to find your own and look through it, just because there's so many parts to it. But these are just a few highlights of the bill and why it's important to me. And then obviously where S1 stands now, there was a key vote yesterday, and I'm sure lots of folks attended David's lecture that was just the night before to hear a little bit about where we are in this fight for the freedom to vote. We're really excited that Manchin, the senator out of West Virginia, gave a vote yes to proceed on the motion. I know that this was a huge thing that we were worrying, that he wouldn't do. And although the GOP did block the bill, that was a win that we were not expecting or guaranteed to have. And so now that we have all the Democrats voting forward on that, we can focus on the GOP opposition to the bill as we have a united front going in. So I think that that's something to celebrate and to recognize. And I'm so glad it happened right before this workshop. But it's also, this is, a time of urgency because the importance of passing this before the summer gives us the time, because the implementation that it would take to put through some of the policies that are in this bill are going to take time. It's going to take some undoing. It's going to take some creating. But if we're hoping to get this in before the 2022 midterms, then this summer is really, really important for the PEOPLE Act to go through. So there's that. And now we're going to move into democracy stories. Democracy stories are really important. We need them to amplify and animate our side, to persuade the conflicted and drown out the opposition. I think that we know that the opposition, the anti-voting side, is very loud, and we have to counter that. And so making sure that we're making our voices heard and that we want this is really important. And stories are a particularly helpful tool. They humanize things, and they can help depoliticize an issue by really connecting with someone individually or sharing your story. It really opens doors. And so we can have a conversation about why this really matters to us, and bring it way more home and personal. So I'm really excited that we get to do that. And we have a few tips on how to do that. It's really helpful when you're telling a story, any story, but particularly focusing on a moment, a memory, or a person, and using details is key. So thinking about what values you find in your story, whether it's bravery or growth or compassion, and then also the emotions that you feel, or maybe that the story brings up for you, whether it's relief or frustration. It can be happiness, it can be sadness, using your emotions as well. And then sensory imagery can also just be helpful to set the scene and really draw listeners in. So what did it look like, feel like, taste like, sound like? So those are really helpful ways to ground a story that you're telling. And then, of course, you can share other stories if you have permission. I just want to make sure to ask before you do that. And then generic examples are okay too, as long as you're talking from the heart. I think that is the most compelling thing that you can do. But that is just a really basic overview of kind of like how we can shape our stories when we're telling them. But to kind of help further our thinking and put this more in a democracy context, we have a few prompts that we can think about. And these are the prompts that we'll be using when we go into our breakout rooms in just a second here. But we'll give you a minute to personally reflect and take a second. So the prompts, are: what is your experience with democracy? How have you been impacted, or what observations have you noticed? How have you been thinking about democracy lately? What have you heard recently? What aspects resonate personally? And then lastly, what is the role you will play in making a just and inclusive democracy a reality? What will keep you going? So I think it would be really helpful if we just took a minute to think about, why we're here, and why we care about this work, and why, we showed up to this workshop, and reflecting on these questions. So I'll give a minute, and then we'll have the opportunity to talk one-on-one with someone in a breakout room, kind of about why, democracy matters to you. But let's just take a minute, because I know that was kind of a lot, but just to kind of think about our story, and how it kind of relates to democracy. So yeah, let's take just a minute or so. Awesome. Thank you everyone for taking that pause with me. I think that it's always helpful to ground ourselves, and then it'll make it a little bit easier to going into our breakout rooms. Let me stop sharing my screen. Obviously, we do not expect you to have like a fully fleshed out, well, articulate story at this point. But this, these prompts and these details that we can kind of think about are just a way to kind of help us start thinking about using that language and how we can tell our story and use it to amplify our voices and why we care about this. And so let me put the prompts in the chat, and so everyone can see them. Let's see.
Kylie, after this, will you share the deck?
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you for asking, Deborah.
Great.
Totally, we can absolutely do that. So I will send up a follow email with the deck, and then I'll include that annotated link to S1, just in case anyone is curious at that, as well as some resources that Betty is going to talk about. So we'll send up a follow-up email. Yeah, perfect. Thank you for asking. So here are the prompts in the chat, and we're going to go into breakout rooms just so we can kind of talk this out with another person. Again, like, we're not expecting anything, perfect, but I know there are certain people and things that I think about when I think about my story and democracy and why I'm here at this workshop. But before that, I want to take a pause and see, does anybody have any questions, comments, or anything? We'll have an opportunity to share out after our breakout rooms, but just in case anyone needs anything now. No worries, Deborah.
Sorry, yeah, I have a question. I assiduously take notes. This is my Common Power notebook.
I love it.
When David was talking the other night, he said, we're no longer talking about voter suppression. That's not the language we're using. We're using something else, and I can't remember what it was.
No, I really appreciate you bringing that up. Yes, so there are guidelines that we're receiving from our federal coalition that I mentioned earlier on messaging. And so instead of using voter suppression, using the language freedom to vote is something that is way more impactful, and people can kind of understand that a little bit more. It's a little more tangible. I actually have some really comprehensive guides on messaging that I was planning on including in the follow-up email, which I'll definitely do now. But it can kind of get it can be a lot, right? All the messaging and specific words. So we didn't include that totally in this workshop, but there are guides out there that have specifics on the messaging we can use, and I can definitely share those with everyone. Yeah, I'm learning a lot too in the way that we can better use our words. And sometimes they were saying that when even we use the wrong language, it can amplify the wrong people. And so it can be really important, that messaging. Yeah, Nancy.
So Kylie, quick question. So is the messaging for improving when we're talking to voters on the phone, or is the ultimate goal of a real targeted social media campaign that we've been seeing some of the not our partner orgs, but some of the DFAD coalition partners using, or is it both?
I think it's both. I might not be the best person to answer that. I think the messaging is really important when we're talking like on, press releases, stuff like that. I think that's when it becomes most important, when we're trying to unify how we're talking about democracy. I don't think it's necessarily as important, when you're having a one-on-one conversation with a voter, you can kind of have that conversation. But I do think it is helpful, just to learn about it in general, to use the language. But I don't think that it's something that you need to stress about when you're calling, because you're already, having that conversation with someone. Yeah, that's a great question. Okay. Well, I think that if everyone's ready, I'm going to open the breakout rooms. We should have 2 participants per room, so you can have a nice intimate conversation with someone. But again, the prompts are in the chat if they're helpful, but we're just trying to talk about, why democracy matters to us, and how our story relates to it. So I'm going to open up those rooms, and everyone should get a prompt to join. And if not, let me know. If you need help, just come off mute or send a message in the chat.
Kylie, how much time will we have?
Oh, great question. Planning to give folks around 5 minutes each to share, so 10 minutes total. Yeah. Mhm.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy. There it is again.
Okay. I'm nervous, but it's okay. Okay, let me get my notes. I'm so glad this is actually a smaller group because this is giving me a chance. This is my first time presenting something that I put together. So I'm a little bit, I feel a little bit more at ease, especially because some of you are like familiar faces. So yeah. Okay, let's get into the first slide. Okay, so the first slide, I'm just going to start off with reading off the bullet points I have and then elaborating. So just so you guys know, what is Demcast and what is the platform used for and what are the benefits of using it at CP? I guess I could give you a little bit of background on Demcast and my experience with Demcast. I learned about Demcast through the Declaration for American Democracy org that we are partner. And so they had shared with me a bunch of graphics and messaging that was curated through Demcast. And I will explain what that actually means later on in this this tutorial, not tutorial, training, workshop. Okay, sorry, workshop. And basically, Demcast is an advocacy-based 501c4 nonprofit that recognizes that digital is the new political battlefield. I'd like to think of Demcast kind of as a free media site platform. It houses content and it ranges from articles to videos and messaging. And it's pro-democracy. I just also want to point that out, that the content that is on there is pro-democracy. And that's another reason why we decided that we wanted to incorporate this into our work too. And then I also would like to point out that Demcast is a amplification network. That's how I also looked at this platform. It's a way for us to I think it's a more intentional approach to fighting disinformation and to lift up the voices of the people, of all of us. And it's also a way of we are able to disseminate content that is impactful, truthful, and again, pro-democracy. So yeah. If you want to move to the next slide, Kylie. Okay. this one's a little bit long. I'm going to shorten it though. So Demcast, how does Demcast work and how do I get involved? Demcast I'm gonna start with social platforms. Social media platforms, it can be used on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and you can even use it for email purposes and LinkedIn, if you guys are familiar with LinkedIn. I put Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram because I think that those are the social channels that are more accessible and most people are constantly using. But I also would like to point out that you can use Demcast on various social channels, but today we're going to focus on Twitter. I think it's a little bit more complicated to use it on Facebook and Instagram, and you are welcome to come to Bert and I's office hours next week, which is posted on our events page. And I will also talk about that at the end of my part of this workshop. And we will go over how to actually use Demcast with Facebook and Instagram and Def if you are interested in learning how to do that as well. So the reason why, actually, let me refocus. Thank you guys for being so patient with me. But let me get back to my bullet points. People get their news and information on social media. I think that a lot, because of COVID and the way that things have been for the past year and a half, people have been using digital media mostly to get their information. And as it's been hard to kind of organize and like come together and things like that throughout the past year and a half, I think that people are starting to get their news and information through social media. And that brings into a very important reasoning on why we also decided to do Demcast. So I'm so sorry. I get really nervous and I have notes. I'm so sorry. But most similar, basically Demcast, how does Demcast work? It is a centralized hub that provides messaging and pictures all in one place. That is the form of Demcast that we will be using. And that's basically, yeah, I'm so sorry. I am so nervous and I don't know why. Okay. But again, this is Demcast is similar to phone banking. When we call voters and advocate for legislation, you're able to do that actually even with social media, like how we've been doing phone banking for the people. We will be focusing on using Demcast to do the exact same thing. And you're probably wondering, well, how am I able to connect with voters through social media if I don't follow them and things like that? I will show you. But I think of social media as another form of amplification, organizing, and gathering in community. Because, for example, I will show you guys what a hashtag is, but hashtags are another form of organizing because it sparks a widespread discussion through social media and builds up public support. It brings more awareness to certain laws and problems and things that we are standing for. And I also think that it creates space for us to nurture and strengthen our relationships with each other. Again, I think that it's another form of being able to do work together virtually. And even if you're not able to be in the same space or be on the ground doing work like we usually did at CP by knocking on doors and canvassing, doing things like that, I think that this is another way for people to gather in community and do this work. And I think that it also provides a way for people that can't be physically there to do work with us too. Okay. Whew. I got most of my talking done. Okay, So we're going to actually get into the actual training portion. I will be sharing my screen. So Kylie's going to drop the slideshow, and let me pull up the info. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now. Can everybody see my screen? Yes, okay, perfect. Okay, so I don't know if you can see my pictures. This is also my first time like being on like being a person that's sharing things on Zoom. So this is new to me. But okay, so this is going to be a landing page. So I will be sharing in the follow-up email that Kylie will be sending out these links to different Demcast campaigns that you can help support that are in correlation to CP. The one that I'm going to be showing you today is part of the For the People Act. And so I will get started on that. So it's the landing page pops up with the different media channels that you can use. Again, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And then if you would like to do direct messaging, WhatsApp, and text messaging, I can show you that if you're interested in our office hours, but I'm not going to cover that today. The only thing I will be covering is Twitter today. So I'm just letting you know. So basically, there's these little squares, and what you're going to do is you're going to click on the Twitter square, and it will bring you to another page. And so how Kylie had talked about putting together our creating your own democracy story and messaging that she had mentioned that we had learned from DFAD and other partners. It actually, so Demcast curates messaging that you can already use if you don't feel comfortable, you haven't gotten together a democracy story yet, you're able to actually choose one of these. I am going to go with the freedom to vote means that I know my vote will be counted. And then if you scroll down, so it's kind of in a list, it will start with number 1, choosing a key message. And then you'll scroll down, and number 2 is choose up to 2 hashtags. There can be multiple hashtags and also multiple, even more messages that can be longer, shorter. It really all depends about the Demcast campaign that we share. But for this training, there is For the People Act, and then pass FTPA, which is just short for the People Act. I'm going to choose both just because, again, hashtagging is another way of organizing because it gathers when you use this hashtag, it comes up in a forum of everyone that uses the hashtag. So it's a way to build publicity and also get out to educate people on what does this hashtag mean and what is it, what are we fighting for, and things like that. So number 3 is you will select a photo. So there will be a bunch of photos. There can be more, but for this purpose, there's only a couple. But I'm going to choose a photo. You can only choose one photo, unfortunately, but you can do this as many times as you want. And so now I'm going to move my Zoom. I don't know if you guys can see my Zoom. I'm just going to do that. I don't know if you guys can see at the bottom of my screen, but there is a customize and share button that is blue, and then there's a download and copy. We are going to select the customize and share button, and we're just going to click on it, and it will automatically repopulate you to Twitter with your graphic and with the messaging that you chose, and also the hashtags. And you're just going to click tweet, and it will automatically show up on your timeline. And an example of what I meant by hashtagging, it creates a forum of a lot of people that have used it. So I just wanted to give that example of it's a common way to organize and things like that. So that is the end of my, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. How do I stop share? Okay. Okay. Wait, where did everyone go? Oh, okay. I'm so,
We got you, Betty.
Yep.
okay.
You did it.
You're good. Go, we may have disappeared into your desktop. So if you put your mouse towards the very top of your monitor screen, we may show up there.
Yes, I see you now. I minimized everyone. So I was like, where did it go?
We got very tiny, teeny tiny.
It's so funny. I'm not used to using Zoom clearly yet, but I promise I will get better at that. But basically, I wanted to also go back to our Twitter slideshow. Oh, I also know you guys have a lot of questions. I figured you would. That is why Bert and I put together office hours for next week. But yes, our office hours will be on Monday, June 28th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then also Tuesday, June 29th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Both of those are listed on our events page already. I put the link at the bottom for just visiting. It's just our CP page, which you guys are all most likely familiar with. And also this is I also assume maybe some of you have not made accounts yet with Twitter. And so that's what the first session we'll be focusing on, and then we will go more into Demcast, and then Tuesday will be primarily a focus on Demcast. But yes, that is the end of my Demcast training. So thank you guys so much. Kylie, would you like me to answer, is it okay if I answer Judy and Nancy's questions? I don't know, Nancy, if you have one, because I think your hand's been raised for a minute. Oh, wait, where did Nancy go?
I lowered it, so let Judy ask her question. Let Judy ask her.
Okay.
Just a quick one. Thank you so much, Betty, for all this information. Looks really cool. Where is the landing page? Where do I find that landing page if I want to do something soon?
Yes, so we are actually putting together the landing page.
Okay.
It should be done by the end of this week. It will be on the advocacy page that says Push for the People that's already up. It just has not been made yet, but I can also drop the Demcast link in the chat right now if you really would like to get started on it. And again, if you feel like you would like to wait for a little bit more of some more help, you can also wait for Kylie to send out the newsletter with the Demcast links included as well in the follow-up. So so then you can go over it over the weekend, and you can come into office hours with any questions you may have. But I can drop that in the link if you would like, Judy, right now.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks again. It's great.
I said in the link, I meant in the chat box.
I understood.
We
I'm
got
so
you.
sorry.
We can fill in the blanks. Betty, thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. And thank you, Bert and Kylie, for supporting me on this. I appreciate you both so much. And I appreciate all of you for being patient and actually coming to this workshop. It really, it makes me happy.
You did a great job, Betty. You really did. You know, we so appreciate you. And I just want to say this really quickly. So I'm the curator of the @Our Common Power Twitter page. So we have 2 Twitter pages for Common Power. So I do the Our Common Power, which is really sort of like our main demographic. So it's kind of like everybody that's here except Betty and Kylie. They're CP Next. So there's actually 2 Twitter feeds for Common Power. One is Our at Our Common Power. So that's all of us. That's the big, what we used to call CP Now. So that's kind of our demographic. And then you've got CP Next, which is our younger, next generation BIPOC community of our wonderful colleagues. And they, as you would think, they have parallel tracks to what we do over at Our Common Power. And Betty makes terrific graphics. And so we collaborate. And basically what that looks like is I steal everything that Betty creates. And then I put it on our Twitter and we send it out. And now with Demcast, we get to steal from this, Deborah, as a librarian, you understand this is our huge resource reference room. And we get to go and, it's so easy. So if you go to at Our Common Power and you scroll through our recent tweets and retweets, you'll see a few of the Demcast tweets we've already sent out. So you'll see what they look like. And what you can do is if you have an account now, click on the one we already sent, like it, and retweet it. That's it. That's how simple you can do it right now. And that does the two things that Betty talked about. It reuses the hashtags and grows that community, and it amplifies our stories about democracy. And I hope I get to see some of you at our office hours with Betty on Monday.
So Bert, will this be, and Kylie and Betty, is it imagined that, I'm trying to figure out the storytelling part that we had in the beginning of this workshop. Is that for the piece if you wanted to create your own mini dialogue? Because tweets have to be under a certain number of characters, right?
Yes, actually, Nancy. So I think that when you are thinking about using the story, the democracy stories that Kylie was sharing and showing us how to do, I think that the best platforms that could be used for is most definitely, I'm thinking Facebook, because I know with Facebook, you don't have as many restrictions as you do with Twitter. But I also think that we could also work on condensing these stories too into the 140 word character limit that Twitter has. But I definitely think that if you're wanting to have a longer story, that Facebook would be the best platform to share it on. And so, yeah. And also when you guys do share this stuff, tag CP and we will reshare your posts as well. So
cool. So, and then did they give you any info as far as using Twitter, that things that have an emoji, I think it was like an emoji, maybe, or a picture gets usually picked up. Is that accurate? Okay.
Yes, that is.
Yeah.
I can go over like all that stuff with you if you have any questions. I can go over that because I do a lot of research on social, for my job. But also because that's just kind of where I feel like my generation's at all the time. So I think that I can help you with that and give you some intel on how that all works and the how, yeah, I'm gonna just stop there before I keep going.
Cool. Well, I'll have to see you next week then. I'm gonna come to office hours.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes, come. Me and Bert welcome you all.
And I know we're over time here, folks, so feel free to head off. But just before we get too much into I want to call out just a few more additional actions that we can take. We have a hybrid event next week. So hybrid being in person and virtual. So whatever you are comfortable with or however you are able to join, we're having an event, a Push for the People event. This workshop was part of a greater initiative, part of CP's advocacy for the For the People Act. And so We have an event next Wednesday that you can find on our events page that Betty linked in the last slide. And then I'm sure folks on the call are familiar with the calls that we've been making with the advocacy group, and the sign up is also on our website. And then just continuing to spread the word on social media, but also, you know, if you are able to, you know, talk to friends and family and just share your story and why democracy matters to you, because it's what we really need is more people to know about this. I know, speaking from my experience, I don't have a lot of friends that know about this. So whenever I get together with a friend, I have to talk their ear off about it, right? But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we called that out. And now I can stop sharing screen and we can all see each other. But Betty, I know, is about to head off on vacation, which is well deserved. So she will need to get off the Zoom room soon, or I'm going to kick her out. And I'm here to stick around and we can chat and ask more questions. But just thank you all so much for joining this workshop. This was Betty and I's Me Too first thing that, you know, I got to really put together and share with the community. So just really appreciate all of you.
Well done. I have one quick question.
Yeah.
What's the event about next week?
Yeah, so the event next week will be a little educational. It'll be kind of similar to this in the sense that we're going to go over, and it'll be a lot more robust, but where we are in the fight for democracy, going over the For the People Act, where it is in Congress, where our paths are forward, as well as some community building. We're likely going to do like a condensed version of this workshop, learning how to tell your story and talk to people about democracy, and then some more calls to action. But a lot of it will be, you know, what folks heard here, using social media, calling your senators, joining the advocacy team. But it's just an opportunity to be in community again. Yeah, we're doing it as part of Indivisible's deadline for democracy push. If anyone is involved with Indivisible, so we're doing it as a part of that.
And I think, Kylie, isn't it going to be on the rooftop?
It is. It is going to be on the rooftop of
Yeah.
our offices, so it'll be beautiful. I think it's supposed to be a nice day, so maybe we'll get to see Rainier too. But yeah, it'll be great. It'll be on the rooftop. We'll have like snacks and some drinks, and it'll be like, you know, just a great time. It'll kind of be like the votercade, Carolyn. Yeah.
And it'll also be broadcast on Zoom. So like, for instance, you won't see me there because I'll be on Zoom and I'll be watching everybody. So for folks who, you know, still are like, I don't know if I want to be in groups or whatever, we're going to give you the opportunity to still participate. So keep that in mind as well. But I know that the team is putting together a really fun and informative event. So, you know, when's the last time you had a rooftop gathering in Seattle on a beautiful day, right? It's been a while. It's been a while.
The view is beautiful too. I've gone up there a couple of times. It's a great place.
Yeah, so you'll actually see the new building that the Common Power team works at, the WeWork building. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well,
So
thank
I had-
yeah, it's
I
a
had-
beautiful day. Head off if you're ready to go. Thank you so much for joining, Carolyn.
Thanks, you guys, and well done, everybody. It was very informative for one who never uses social media. Really, I don't. So that's kind of why I came, so I could start thinking that way. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you. It was wonderful.
Thanks for your stories.
Thank you.
Much
Yes, thank
appreciated.
you everyone for sharing. Really appreciate that as well.
Thanks, everybody. It was so great of you to come.
Yeah, thank you.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Kylie, are you staying? I wanted to.
Yeah,
just
I'm
ask
gonna
you a
stick
couple
around.
questions.
Totally, Deborah. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
So have a great vacation, Betty. Totally unplug, right? Really
Yes.
rest. Really rest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I decided I was gonna drive, Kylie, so it's okay. I can stay for a little.
No worries. Go, Betty. You can head off. I think everyone's heading off.
Oh,
anyway.
I still need to do more work. So I need to finish one more thing. So it's fine if I do stay for a little bit, because I assume people might have questions for me too.
So my question, I don't know if it's for you, Betty, but maybe it is. When you said the launch page will be set up, is that a Common Power specific launch page that you're talking? I see.
Yes.
if-
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
No, it's okay. So if we if I went on and, you know, whatever I do, download or whatever happens, and I started doing it, it doesn't really count for Common Power. I mean, would you rather see us drive us to the Common Power site or launch page, or are you just doing that to make it easier for us?
We're just making that so it's easier. Like it's
Yeah.
on the website. Whenever anyone wants the link, can grab
Okay.
it. You can go straight using the Demcast link. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
And we do hashtag. Should we just do our Common Power or both?
You can do any hashtag you want, actually. If you want to incorporate that, I will tell you that if you incorporate your own hashtag through Demcast, you will not be able to do that step until you get to the social media platform page, because you're not able to just put in your own hashtag with Demcast, because it's kind of like a centralized hub, like I had
Got it.
said, where it's already pre-made for you. But if you want to customize your own messaging and things like that, you can just basically customize it once you get to the next step, which is the platform, Twitter
Okay.
or Facebook, for instance.
So we'll, if I can make it to the training, you can explain that, because since you
Yeah.
ask us to hashtag Common Power,
Yeah.
which of course makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
we
what you can
to
do, Deborah, is once you select 1, 2, and 3 from Demcast and you go down to that little blue button where it says customize and save, when you
Mhm.
push customize and save, it brings you to the prototype of the tweet you're going to send. That's when you can add hashtag
Okay.
Common Power or hashtag push for the people. I think, Betty, you'll probably tell us which one you want us to
Yeah.
use.
I can go over that again too, at our office hours, go over the training
Okay.
and stuff again, and maybe spend more time on that and answer everyone's questions. So don't worry too much. I will make a point to go over it as many times as everyone needs, and also to make it more clear cut, because I think that maybe my demonstration today wasn't as clear.
It was great. Honestly, I'm not just saying this. I mean, I feel ready to do it. In fact, I was thinking I would probably, because I got it when you were doing that, I thought I would actually try it before I come to the training, so that I
Yes.
know
That's
what I
great.
know or don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just going to tell on myself, I didn't know that Common Power wanted us to insert our own hashtag. So if you go on our Common Power, you will not see that I inserted anything, because I didn't. You will just see that I selected their hashtags
Mhm.
and sent it out, right? So, I mean, I think we're just all learning as we go with this. And, we're going to fine tune what we're doing. So I think at the office hours, it'll be fun, because Betty will have a lot to share with me too, because like I said, she's the expert.
So is the insertion of the Common Power hashtag to create the community of Common Power people see each other's, if you pull up hashtag Common Power, then you'll see all these tweets that are,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say, I don't have that many followers. I follow a ton of people, but I don't have that many followers. Every now and again though, I get somebody important to like my tweet and retweet it.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Nancy's been knocking it out of the park, because I follow Nancy. And so I'll look at Nancy and I'll go like, look at who liked Miss Nancy's tweet. That's pretty cool. And that's a really good comment too, that we can talk about more at office hours, Nancy. But a lot of times when we get the most leverage for Common Power is when we reply to other people's tweets.
Yep.
So what I've started doing, yesterday, I spent almost all my afternoon, every Republican senator who posted some lie about what S1 was going to do, I replied to them with a message from Common Power saying, we powerfully and respectfully disagree with you. And S1 is going to do this. And if you want to learn more about us, go here. And I just sent them to every single Republican who, you know, whether it was McConnell or, you know, Rubio or anybody, I just replied to theirs. And then people responded and resent that out. So,
Nice.
you know, Twitter's kind of an interesting universe.
Mhm.
It's kind of fun. It's a fun thing to play around in.
Yeah,
Right,
you
Betty?
get to find out a whole lot of stuff that's going on that you didn't necessarily know about. I actually found out what was going on between Capitol Hill Pride and Take Black Pride. And I was
Yep.
like, oh, there's some stuff going on here. I need to read up and just be aware of what's happening. So yeah, there's lots of things to understand. So I am very, very, very excited because I can spend entirely too much time on Twitter. However, Twitter for good though is
Oh,
awesome.
we ought to make that a hashtag. Twitter for good. I love it.
Twitter for democracy.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, Nancy, you were saying that you go on there to also educate yourself, is that a lot of news platforms actually have a space on Twitter now too. And you
Yeah.
are actually able to see people's responses to the news on Twitter. And so I think that it's a really, I love Twitter out of all platforms, like, because I just feel like they do a good job of spreading information. And that's my favorite platform. So
Oh, Kylie, that's an
Yeah.
excellent hashtag.
That is really
That
good,
is a
Kylie.
really good hashtag, Kylie.
Yep.
good trouble.
That's a really good
Yeah.
one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. See, so the other thing I was wondering was, and I don't want to have it be that we have to create more meetings, but I was like, is CP thinking about, like, you know, we're going to have a little time where people can just come like this and have their phones and be like tweeting stuff and talking to each other about what's coming through, or is that like you guys have plenty of meetings going on and that is not a space that you want to spend time in?
You know, I
Actually,
definitely wouldn't want to. I mean, I know that Bert and Betty are holding office hours, but that would be something that I would be interested in. It could be something, you know, where we come and talk about why democracy matters to us, and then we tweet. Like, I love that. I don't see why not. Well,
it's like our
No.
Mojo. Remember our Mojo meetings that we used to have?
yeah.
Remember so Deborah, I don't know if you were, active with us then, but we used to have meetings, and Kylie was one of the masterful hosts and facilitators of that, but they were just called Mojo Maker meetings. And the whole idea was just to come together as a community, get people excited, learn, hear from one another. So we could do like mini Mojo tweet parties or mini Mojo social media.
Yeah.
And we can even do that, Betty, at our office hours. If, once we get people up and running, we can start tweeting together.
Yeah.
Plus
It helps if, because somebody would be there that knows how to do it. So if you get a little stuck, you could just ask quick and like, hey, how do I, do this, that? It would help facilitate also, people asking questions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No,
I love it.
I was actually looking into, so Charles had mentioned that this event, like this workshop that we're doing, is going to be a bigger, this is not just a one-time type of thing where it's like, this is like one and done. It's the only time we're introducing this. And so I think that that's a good idea. I think also that would get people more engaged. And also I had been talking to Charles, well, actually, I didn't tell Charles yet, but I'm going to tell Charles. I was thinking about if we're getting people into like using hashtags and Twitter and stuff, I was thinking about putting an actual like media gadget of people using our hashtag and having it on our website and like see what's populated and like things like that. So I was thinking about that. And so I have a couple of ideas in order to incorporate social and getting people more involved in that kind of work too, especially as like we're in a really weird time and period where like in person and like how we all can't travel and people still want to feel involved. And so I think that this is a good way for that too. So for that to happen.
So
Now you see how much fun I have all the time because I get to work with Betty and Kylie.
I know. I
It's
have
like
to say,
all the time. I know you've got Ben. It's just like crazy, Deborah. We
Yeah.
love this. And oh, by the way, Deborah, I wanted to tell you, I love libraries. I love librarians. And up until the pandemic, I was a volunteer every Wednesday at the Magnolia branch.
Oh,
And
nice.
I miss it. I miss it so much. I was a book cleaner. I cleaned the stacks.
I used to be the city librarian, so let me say thank you.
Oh,
So,
yeah, it was,
Um,
I miss it so much. We just got a message that, we're there, our branches aren't ready to welcome back volunteers, but I can't wait till they do.
yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Um, I've been buying so many books during the pandemic when, so I've been making sure Elliott Bay and all the small bookstores get my money in buying books. And now I don't know that I want to go back because so many of the books I download audiobooks and ebooks from the library all the time, but it's like, I don't know that I want those dirty books because I don't think there's enough book cleaners.
Well, I didn't even know there was a job like that. And so when I went to volunteer, they were like, well, would you ever want to clean books? I was like, what? Yeah, I'll clean books. So that's what I did.
I live not far from you. I drive by and it's such a beautiful branch. I mean, and I think we were respectful when we increased the size of it. We were able to maintain that gorgeous, perfect architecture.
And it has beautiful furniture from a very famous, I was blown away when they told me about
that's
that.
the same one that the architect, and there's actually not a trust fund, but there's money to take care of the furniture.
Wow.
I mean, there is, this is, when you have money that gets interest, it's like a savings account, but whatever it's called. But there's just a fund that is just for Magnolia furniture that somebody gave because they're such gorgeous. What's the guy's name? I can't think of his name, but the architect.
I can't either, but
Call somebody or somebody.
yeah. If you guys are ever interested in like just incredible art in the form of usable art, go to the Magnolia branch and see these absolutely stunning pieces of furniture that it takes your breath away.
Yeah. I actually, I don't know if you saw in the Seattle Times today that the picture of the Central Library, and I actually put that up on Facebook, and I hardly ever go to use Facebook anymore. And because it said, I said the library is open, it's opening day, like baseball opening day that David always talks about. And I said, and they say a library is a cool place to be. Because of course it's about the
Air
weather.
Conditioning. Yeah.
So I have a question about Twitter, about tweeting. And I asked David this, and I was going to stay after some meeting so he could show me. But how do, I make the phone calls to the senators, but how do you tweet at the senators? Like when, David has, or whoever's put those lists together and there's a tweet message. And I think of myself as being sophisticated on Twitter, but I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, that's a great question. I know that David is leading that direct advocacy, so he might be like the best on exactly how you do that. But it's just my understanding that if you use the handle of the senator, you just use it and at them, and then it'll notify them or it'll show up.
Yeah. And if you
so what you want to do it on my own page though?
Yeah. So what you do is you compose a message, and one of the little tricks that will actually get it to whoever looks at their tweet,
Twitter feed.
Yeah, their feed, is you put a period, then you put the at, and then you put whatever their handle is, right? So it's period, at, and then their name. And then basically it for some reason, it makes it, especially if you start with that, right? So like, say you want to tweet at Marco Rubio, it's period at Marco Rubio, and then you put your
Cool.
message behind it, and it pulls it up, and
Mm.
it actually like drops it into some folder that his staff would see.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. That's great. And also, I'm going to go and look on the our Common Power site to see what you did yesterday, because I like that idea, and I wish I had known day before yesterday, because I would have done that.
Yeah, it may not show up, but just to let you know, I'm looking at our feed right now, and I retweeted from Arizona, the Unite Here, their freedom buses that went all across the
Yeah, yeah.
country, right? And then I replied to it, and so they picked up that we did that, and now they're retweeting us and they're
Yeah,
following us.
yeah.
So
But
those
I
are
was
the
wanting
exciting
to
things that can
the ones where
happen.
I was wanting to see the ones that you were calling out people for lying. So
Ah,
that's what.
yeah, yeah.
So who was
I'm
it?
looking right now to see if it shows up. I'm not sure, Betty, when we reply, do they show up?
You go to tweets and replies and it should.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So yeah,
What did you say? I'm sorry.
I was just asking if like when we reply, does it show up? So I'm just kind of going through here really fast so I can tell you
It
where to.
should in your mentions.
Yeah, so I'm looking right now, Deborah, and I sent one to Senator Blackburn. And it basically says, we respectfully and powerfully disagree. At Common Power, we're committed to pushing for a more just and inclusive. So it actually went to her.
Okay, I loved that idea. So, well, I'm going to go. Thank you so much, and I'll see you later. And I now have fava beans that I can pick in my garden. So I'm so excited. That's what I've been
Those are
doing.
ginormous. Those look delicious.
Yeah, I have made some pesto from something in the garden, and so I'm having garbanzo beans and fava beans with pesto for dinner tonight.
Nice.
Have a great dinner. Thank you for joining, Deborah.
Yeah, thank
Thanks,
you so much.
Deborah.
I'm going to try to come actually physically next Wednesday.
I'd love
Oh,
to see you.
great.
That would be great. Thank
I know,
you.
it's very exciting. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, I'll let you guys go. But one other question I had was, do you think we'll do maybe they would add it to the Mobilize site where people would put their Twitter handles? Maybe like, do you think that would be worthwhile? And then we could I don't know what Kylie's Twitter handle is, or I don't think I know Betty's. I'd have to go search you, but she may not be on Twitter as Betty Chipman. She may be on as something else. So I'm like, ooh, and maybe some people don't want us following their personal Twitter feed. So I started 2 Twitter feeds. I got the one I do to the Republicans. I keep that separate because you're going to have that Twitter feed can get trashed with a huge amount of nonsense from other Republicans. And then you get all the advertising that they focus at Republicans, and I don't really care to see that. So I keep that off my personal page, but
Yeah, that's certainly an idea. And I think that having 2 accounts too, if people are feeling uncomfortable or perhaps, when they're signing up for Twitter, are thinking about it, it would be good to give them an option that you don't always have to, use your name, or you don't say exactly where you are.
Yeah.
Good, Nancy.
Okay.
I actually found you already, Nancy. All I had to do was search your name.
I know. Oh, which one did you found? My regular one, the one because I have one that's under Voter LaRusso, and that's the one I had used in the past. So, but yeah, so, okay, so that's kind of that's awesome. Yeah.
My Twitter though is very
I won't follow.
No, you can. It's like I always retweet a lot of my friends, and they graduated from college. I'm very in the zone of amplifying BIPOC people actually on my Twitter feed and what they're accomplishing and things like that. It's kind of like my break from handling the CP activism part of social, because it's I have an account for doing that as I'm handling them. So I don't have an actual like activism account because I do everything from CP.
Oh, yeah.
But I will make one if it I will make one. I think it's beneficial for me to make one, especially as I'm going to be educating people on how to use social media. I was going to throw in as well that in order to, like, you probably know this, Nancy, but I was going to say that for people that want to do like sending messages to like senators and like things like that, a lot of them are verified, so you'll know that you're talking to the right person with a blue check mark and things like
Wow.
that. So I think maybe at whatever point before we decide that we're going to do a call in, like have like a community like what would we even call this, a community
It's a
tweet-a-thon?
a tweet storm. We're gonna call it a tweet storm, right?
Yes,
Tweet storm for
storm.
good trouble.
yes.
I love it. I love it. Kylie came up with a
Go
good
over
one.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that this is a great start to like introducing social media, and I'm so happy to have all of you guys here and to be supporting this and this new journey for CP.
Good.
Absolutely. Just the beginning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Nancy, like
Thank
always.
you.
Bye.
Thank you
Bye.
for staying late.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad. And you guys all have a very good evening. Betty, do check out when you get going. Check out. Really rejuvenate.
Yes,
I will.
Okay.
I haven't packed
I
now.
know. I gotta let you go. Bye.
Bye, Nancy.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Good
Thank
job,
you
you
guys so
guys.
much.
Woo!
Betty,
You
thank you
did it
so much for
good.
staying late. I just wanted to just really acknowledge that because I don't want,
Oh,
I'm
it's-
sorry about that. And thank you.
I don't mind. I don't think I would have liked the train anyways.
Great job. I think that was, I think that was cool. I'm really
I
glad.
was
it a small group
nervous.
to start with. A small group was.
You might want to stop the recording.
Oh.